So, what if a single book, written over 100 years ago, actually held the key to a huge musical mystery? The secret code, you could say, to an entire ancient sound. Well, today, we're going to crack it open and see what's inside.
Okay, so this is where our story kicks off, with this book, published way back in 1917 in Tanjore, India. At first glance, it just looks like a really old book, right? But it's so much more than that. It's part treasure map, part scientific journal, and part history lesson, all rolled into one.
So, what was the big secret? What could possibly be so important that it required this massive, epic investigation to uncover it? Let's dive into the pages of this incredible work and find out.
All right, so the first clue to just how big and ambitious this whole project was is right there in the title, Karunamirtha Sagaram.
An ocean of music.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This was never going to be some simple textbook. The name itself promised something vast, deep, and totally all-encompassing, an entire world of sound packed between two covers.
So who was the brilliant mind behind all of this? You know, every great investigation needs a great detective. And in our story, that detective's name was M. Abraham Pandither.
And here he is. This is M. Abraham Pandither, the man who poured years of his life into this quest. I mean, just look at his portrait. You could almost feel the focus and the sheer determination it must have taken to even start a project this huge.
So Pandither was a top scholar working out of Kanjore, which was this major hub for arts and culture in South India. But he wasn't just some academic trying to preserve the past. No, he was on a mission. He wanted to prove that the ancient musical traditions he loved weren't just beautiful, they were built on a complex, scientific system that he felt the whole world needed to understand.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of the mystery. The one thing that Pandither was completely obsessed with, this idea of the Shrutis. This was the puzzle he was determined to solve, once and for all.
So what in the world are Shrutis? Well, think of them as the tiny microtonal building blocks of Indian classical music. You know how Western music is built on the notes you hear on a piano? Shrutis are like all the precise, subtle notes between the keys. They're the sounds that give the music its unique flavor and its incredible emotional depth.
And here's where you can really see the difference. A Western musical octave is split into 12 distinct steps, or semitones. But the ancient Tamil system that Pandither was studying, it used 22 Shrutis. That's a way more detailed, more complex system. And for a long, long time, nobody could agree on the exact math behind it.
So you might be asking, why all the fuss over these tiny little musical intervals? Well, for Pandither, proving the math behind the 22 Shrutis wasn't just some academic hobby. This was his life's work. It was about proving the genius of an entire cultural and intellectual legacy that he was terrified was being forgotten. So how did he do it? I mean, how does one person even begin to prove the scientific foundation of an ancient art form? Well, it all came down to his incredibly methodical process.
You know, his approach was actually super modern. He was like a forensic investigator, digging through old Tamil literature, searching for any and every clue about music. Then, he'd apply these strict mathematical formulas to figure out the exact frequency of each Shruti. And finally, he wrote it all down, documenting everything with unbelievable care.
And I'm not kidding when I say unbelievable care. This number really says it all. 1,346. That's how many pages are in the first volume alone. This wasn't just a book, it was a testament to sheer scholarly grit.
And his vision for this was global. By publishing the book in both Tamil and English, Pandither was making a statement. He wasn't just writing for his colleagues in India, he was building a bridge to the rest of the world, making sure this ancient knowledge could be understood by anyone, anywhere.
So after all that incredible work, what was the payoff? What kind of impact did this ocean of music actually have once it was out in the world?
In the end, the book itself was the solution. Just like its subtitle says, it was a treatise on music on Shrutis. Pandither didn't just want to add to the conversation, he wanted to end the debate. And by laying out all the evidence, the history, the literature, the math, all in one place, he pretty much did. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the Karunamirtha Sagaram finally laid out the complex theory of the 22 Shrutis, give it a solid mathematical foundation, and in doing so, saved a vital piece of cultural history. It became an essential foundational text for anyone studying music history and theory from then on. And you know, looking at a weathered library copy like this one, over 100 years later, it's just such a powerful symbol of one person's passion for knowledge.
It's a profound reminder that a single, focused investigation can protect an idea for generations to come.
Pandither spent his life decoding just one small corner of ancient wisdom. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other oceans of knowledge are out there, just sitting in old books on dusty shelves, waiting for someone to come along and bring them back into the light?